The Male Experience.
Male Experience. Male Experience. Male Experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC Vegas 12. Coming off the heels of UFC 254, where the GOAT, I mean, he was the GOAT in my mind forever. Long before it was cool to say Khabib Nurmagomedov was the GOAT. I've been beating that drum for a long time. Cody Saftic here in studio with me. A beardless one, but I felt, Khabib's a humble guy. Just kind of, I didn't feel right making you shave your mustache. We're about to go into Canadian winter here, and you need all of it that you can get. You should probably be wearing that hat at some point, though.
Getting chilly out there.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, Khabib went in, did what he had to do. We're not here to talk about all of that. We've got a full slate of fights here. But what I did, I gave you an out. On Twitter, I kind of said, he's got a nice looking mustache. He's coming in real thick. I don't feel right, on a 3-1 favorite, 4-1 favorite, depending on the time that you'd bet it, making him, actually follow through with this bet. But you have to issue an apology to the GOAT.
Got to issue a formal apology. So first and foremost, I would like to sincerely apologize to absolutely nobody, Paul Shaughnessy.
Oh, come on.
That's right, baby. I'll tell you something. I'll fucking tell you something. My mayor taught me when I was a young child, only a punk bitch doesn't pay back their bets. So unfortunately, I might need the camera to help me out with this one. But
oh, God, this is going to get...
Yeah.
No. That is amazing. You got to wear the hat. You look great.
A little hair in the mouth. Yeah. That's the problem with mustaches, I guess.
What are we gonna do with all that hair?
I don't know. There was actually a lot more in my mustache than I thought. I don't know what this looks
Starting
like.
out with a bang in this one. What a guy. Throw the hat on. You'll look good.
What does that look like?
Here you go, kid.
Is that approximate?
Here you go, kid. Here, throw this bad boy on. Let me just get a shot of this we can't release this to the people because that was a hell of a sell job that you had there.
Well,
but I'm going to need...
Khabib deserves it, man. That was a hell of a performance.
Oh, what a
You
shot.
you can't question greatness. And listen, I got a problem with questioning greatness. I bet Reyes over John Jones last time out. I obviously went against Khabib.
Well, Reyes arguably beat John Jones. And
Yeah. You know who
John
arguably
Jones
did
is
beat
on his
Khabib?
own little planet
Nobody.
right now. Just like let Khabib have his moment, bud.
Yeah, I know. He's totally freaking out. But listen, I mean, my argument for why Khabib's the best of all time now, if it's not, it's Georges St. Pierre. I would have really liked to have seen him go for the 30th win over St. Pierre and put all the arguments to rest, and it would obviously be the biggest fight that the UFC is able to put together. But quite frankly, it's just the way he beats these guys. It's the class that he is. It's just the manner of, like, John Jones has these close fights over guys that I would consider to be less than stellar competition, whereas Khabib will basically fight whoever you put in front of him. I know people said he ran from Tony Ferguson. Not the case, clearly. And the guy just looks so good every time out. So,
and maybe the most dominant or best weight class, or at least the weight class with the most number of people. The average human or average male, probably 155, 170, or like the weight classes that they would be able to get into. I mean, he just progressively just kept getting better and better. There were early spots in his career, Gleason Tebow.
One spot early in his career.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as if he got outclassed by no means. When you look at George, it's like, well, George lost to Matt Hughes. Oh, but dude, he was one of the legends. Okay, you give him a pass on that. Him losing to Matt Serra, it's really hard to give him a pass for. Him, the fight with Johnny Hendricks, all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know, not so impressive. You look back at his list of wins, doesn't seem like it's the most impressive, but it was all the best guys of that time. George is the man. Khabib, same thing. I mean, he fought outside Tony Ferguson, I suppose. The best guys that they put in front of him. And I get there's people saying there's some soft competition here and there. And like, He did it.
There is on everybody's.
Would I have
record.
liked to have seen him go up to 170, fight Colby? Sure. Would I have liked to have seen him go to 170, fight Kamaru Usman? Yeah. Would I have liked to see him fight George St. Pierre? Hopefully at a catch weight at 165 or 170? Absolutely. But I get it. And I got a lot of respect.
Apparently,
for
his
him,
mom asked him not to fight anymore, and fighting was his dad's thing. What are we gonna do about
Mama
that?
Dukes
What
tells
are we
you
gonna
something.
do about that hair there, bud?
Well, I just won't touch this thing when I do the PRP at the end. Yeah, listen, Mama Dukes tells him it's time to hang it up. All respect to him. So
I mean, he's gonna make lots of. He's
Humble
gonna
pie.
have seminars all over the world.
I mean,
and he's gonna
he
make
doesn't
his.
need the
He's
money.
gonna make his money.
Why would he do seminars? He doesn't need the money. He made $10 million for that fight. Disclosed $6 million, and then once his pay-per-view numbers come in, makes $10 million. Like, why would he want to travel around? And maybe that's the kind of guy he is. You know, he'll be running
The amount of
these
money he'd be able to get
camps and-
for said seminars may get him.
Yeah,
to
who
do
knows?
it. But he says
I would say he enters politics. It's like the Russian athlete thing to do.
Maybe.
They'll give you a spot. People really respect you. They love you. They'll vote for you. And all of a sudden, they'll kind of bend over for your policies and all this and that. It's kind of like a common Russian thing to do. But Habib's he did everything he could do more. But like, why bother? He's done enough. So
Yeah, Javier Hernandez was asking him to kind of be a coach, and they have a lot of Dagestani fighters that come over to AKA. A lot of them when they first come over, like Habib, don't speak English. I could see that working out pretty well for him too. I mean, the guy's, as you said, he's made his money. He can kind of do whatever the hell he wants at this point. He's never a guy who I thought really, really loved fighting. He kind of said this was his dad's dream. This is the GSP fight was his dad's dream. That's what his dad wanted to have as like his final legacy fight. But Habib weigh-in issues and stuff like that. He never really loved it. You could kind of tell he's just insanely good at it.
yeah, for sure. And listen,
If this is the time, and I think it is,
Yeah.
like he's not a guy who says one thing and then does another thing. He's usually pretty honest with his approach.
Yeah,
I think
fair
he's
enough.
done.
But let's just call a spade a spade. If you're Javier Hernandez, when Habib walks through the door, it's not just Habib walking through the door. Oh, he's retired. We're cool with that. Habib walks through the door. There's 6 or 7 badass Russians with him.
Mm-hmm.
They're all fighting in the UFC. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose Islam Makhachev. I don't want to lose Saeed Nurmagomedov. I don't want to lose Umar. I don't want to lose all these guys. I don't want to lose everyone that walks in with him. And plus, he's got guys that are bodies for everybody else that's in camp. You don't want to lose your 5 points off all these guys competing. So yeah, hey man, stay here because otherwise they're all just gonna stay in Russia and do their thing. So anyways, 4 weeks ago, hit a 13-1 parlay and end up doing a shoey. Like what the fuck, Jermaine Durand and me.
bullshit, eh?
Yeah, and then last week hit a 14-1 parlay.
For the
15-1
record, I did
actually 'cause
not.
of the draw,
I
and-
saw you with the mustache. I thought I gave you the out.
No, you don't take the out. What you got a man up.
You look
That's
good
life.
though. Like, that's a
Yeah.
good look, kid.
You know what? I have the benefit of everyone's wearing a mask, so it's not as if I got to go out into public. But at the same time, I don't think I look.
Yeah, let's get into what the
ridiculous.
people are here for. We got former GOAT, or some would say the GOAT, Anderson Silva's retirement fight. From the sounds of it, he takes on Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall minus 230 favorite. Anderson Silva plus 190. Where are you at with this one, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, even though he was once the GOAT, I mean, that's what you got to compliment Khabib for. He's not tarnishing his legacy. He's in the prime of his career right now, and he's walking away undefeated. Like, how many guys can say that? Anderson Silva is an addict. He is addicted to the thrill of fighting. He's addicted to the adrenaline that shoots through his veins and courses through his veins as he prepares to fight somebody. That's who he is. He was fighting for free back in the IVC days, where it was bare knuckle, in some auditorium in Brazil, and nobody got compensated. I mean, at best, you just got beat up, and he loved it. He competed. I think I saw some stat. It was like he signed to the UFC. He was 32 years old. And Khabib is retiring from the UFC, and he's 32 years old. So everything that Anderson, his entire legacy that he built up in the UFC, is when he was technically speaking on the back end of his career. Like, talk about the Michael Jordan of MMA. Talk about the Wizard. Talk about if you had a Mount Rushmore of guys, Anderson Silva basically cracks everybody's list. The difference is where this guy could have walked away, and this guy had a kick-ass legacy. He just hanged around, man, because he's addicted to it. I don't think it's the pay, because again, this is somebody who's very comfortable. He has the Burger King sponsorship. He's been fighting in the pinnacle, the highest level of the sport for over a decade. He's got lots of nice paydays, lots of sponsorships, and you talk about seminars and autographs and memorabilia. Anderson Silva, this is the guy. Well, why does he continue to do it? Like, why does he put himself through it? Because it's like he just loves to compete. Mm-hmm. And now he says it's his retirement fight. It's the last time I'm going to go in there and do that. But then they interview him. They're like, so this is the last one? He's like, yeah, maybe. Last one in the UFC. It's like, okay, so you're going to fight again somewhere else. It's just
He had always kind of said
Just
Roy
who he is.
Jones boxing, and we see Roy Jones is taking on Mike Tyson for that in that
Yeah,
one
of
event.
course.
So
Listen,
maybe he's trying to throw his name in the hat on something like that.
Yeah, and you see bare knuckle boxing throw money around. You see different organizations throw money around. He wouldn't be able to sign with Bellator, even if they promised him the world, just because I don't think this is the last one in his contract. I just think he's retiring. If it is, by all means. If not, he's going to be locked in. But I think with bare knuckle
let him
boxing,
walk, Dana.
you could legally fight it and be like, it's not MMA. I have an MMA promotional contract with
Sure.
you. I don't know. I don't even know that he wants to do that. I'm just saying he's somebody that snapped his leg once upon a time. His son has that infamous video where he's like, Dad, no more. No more. Anderson's like, okay, no more, no more. And then it says like 8 months later, he's fighting Nick Diaz on a compromised leg, not all the way healed. Just couldn't really turn down the opportunity. Now, the Nick Diaz fight's significant here because it's the last time he legitimately won a fight. Yeah, he beat Derek Brunson, but did he beat Derek Brunson? Absolutely atrocious decision where he got outstruck by Brunson and taken down twice and was somehow gifted the decision. Beyond that, the last time he legitimately beat a guy was Nick Diaz, 2015. 5 years ago. And then, he tested positive for steroids. So the last time he really defeated a guy nice, clean, and sound is Stephan Bonner, 2012. It's 8 years ago. The guy's 45 years old now. His athleticism has definitely slowed down. His reflex, his timing, it's all slowed down. Experience, yeah, that'll never slow down. He's got experience for days. But I can't get behind him. Now you can look at Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall was touted as the young man version of Anderson Silva. Turned out to be the poor man's version of Anderson Silva, but just like never got to that same level. And even though he's 36 years old himself, he doesn't seem to be slowing down. Reflex are perfectly intact. Last two fights actually show that he's making some progression. He was known for just such a poor ground game, not being able to wrestle. And once you do get him on the ground, you can grind him and this and that. And you know what? He spent a lot of time in Vegas, shoring up his wrestling, shoring up his ground game, getting better. He's a guy that the longer you keep him into a fight, I don't love that he doesn't throw a ton. His volume's not great.
No.
But the longer you keep this guy in a fight, like the Christoph Jotko fight,
Or Bevon Lewis.
or Bevon Lewis is up 2 rounds, right?
Absolutely.
But you stand in front of the guy, it's like he can make magic happen. And then it seems like in his last two, or certainly in his last fight, it's like maybe he's starting to turn the corner, Antonio Carlos Jr., where it's like you got to put him away quick, or he's just come back into this. Now, Anderson, that goes right against his game plan because, he's not going to go out there and take out anybody quick, I don't think. He's falling into the punch. He's a counter puncher at this stage in his career. Likes to stay back, likes for you to try to dictate the pace. Uriah Hall, meanwhile, he's the same way. He likes to counter punch. He likes for you to dictate the pace. That's why there's a lot of similarities between them. My one concern is that just like a lot of guys that have fought in Anderson that should have smoked him. Daniel Cormier should have smoked him. Israel Adesanya should have smoked him. When you get in there with the man, the myth, and the legend, you don't really want to smoke this guy, right? The only guys that have really put it to him, Bisping probably gave him his worst beating when it was a knockout. It was like Bisping didn't like this man. Bisping hunted this fight for a long time. He wanted it, right? With Hall, you're fighting a 45-year-old man, a legend, someone that you
Hall's 36.
No, I know. I'm just saying if he doesn't, he's not one to really pull the trigger and push the action.
No.
And if he chooses not to do that again with Anderson Silva, you don't know if it ends up going later rounds. If it goes to decision, I don't see it going 5, but let's say it did. Well, why not another shitty Derek Brunson decision where you just give it to Anderson? Why? Because he's the man. This is his last fight. Why not send him out on a high note? So Hall's got to do something. Knocking out Anderson is not easy. It really isn't, even at this stage. But Hall's got to do something definitive.
What I would want to see from Holland, I don't know if he's going to do it because we've seen it ever since, obviously, Chris Weidman when Anderson Silva's leg completely crumbled. Even against Jared Cannonier, he buckles real bad taking a leg kick from Jared Cannonier. That there was no actual injury there, or no serious injury, no ligament damage or anything like that. Here's the thing, though. I'm kind of with Uriah Hall. He's been off doing like a movie or whatever recently, and I'm sure he's in the gym training, doing all of that. I'm concerned that he's showing up to this party, and we're gonna sling and have like a kung fu fight. I mean, if I was betting Uriah Hall and I can't pull the trigger on it because I want to see my guy attack that leg. Izzy was attacking that leg. Cannonier was attacking that leg. The leg issue, and that the one that Cannonier got him to drop with, that was not even the injured leg. That was that he injured against Chris Weidman. The way that Andy stands these days, like that leg is just sitting out there, just waiting to get kicked. I'm sure he's waiting to counter on it.
You've seen his pencil-thin legs as well.
I worry.
Compromise.
I worry to lay chalk on Uriah Hall, who's been inactive over all of these years. Moments of greatness and brilliant technique, but a lot of inactivity in those fights sometimes. I worry that he's not just he won't stick to a game plan of let's attack that lead leg. Because
that's where the respect comes in.
Exactly. Because we want to put on a show. It's a retirement fight. We want to do all of that. When I'm laying minus 230, I don't want to have that doubt. I want it to be like Jared Cannonier, who's like, I'm attacking that leg because that's my best path to victory here. It's sitting there right for me to kick it. I'm not convinced that Uriah Hall will go down that path. I think he wants to have a fun fight for Anderson's retirement fight. If I got a sense that maybe I'll be watching this obviously live. If I start seeing him, like if he comes out and starts throwing leg kicks, I'll jump in, but can't lay it minus 230 myself right now. I just think that it could end up being a fun fight. And you saw Anderson Silva against Izzy Adesanya.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like
that's playing with your food, though.
He was playing with his, of course. But what I'm saying is that like he wasn't completely out of it. He had some nice striking techniques.
Right, he did. I know.
He was hanging in there with the best guy at the middleweight division right now. So. Yeah. I don't think Anderson Silva is drawing dead in this fight, and I can't rely on Hall to just stick to the leg kicks. That's how you get this job done. It's clearly in his brain that he doesn't want to take that. I'm sure the recovery from that injury was just absolutely gruesome after Chris Weidman did that to him. That like leg kicks are definitely like they startle him. There was another fight too. I can't remember off the top of my head that he buckled taking leg kicks as well. It's definitely a thing with him.
And at 45, you don't come into this fight all of a sudden with, everything's healed up. I'm back to 100%. It's like, when was the last time you're hesitant to bet on Uriah Hall, right? When was the last time you were hesitant to bet against a 45-year-old fighter? In a 5-round fight, nonetheless. Like, this isn't, at least the Cormier fight was a favor. Like, let's just do it 3 rounds, But this is a big spot. This is a headlining fight. I mean, when Randy Couture got to the end, it was at the end, man. When Dan Henderson got to the end, I mean, he arguably beat Bisping, really. But you know what I mean. It's at the end. Like Anderson, I just don't know that he's going to spark that last bit of magic. And I look at how does Anderson fare against... See, Anderson, they only give him big-name competition. So maybe you write him a pass. Oh, geez, you look good against this guy. Right? If he would have fought all the mid-level competition that Hall's been fighting, I think he loses all those. I don't think he beats Christoph Jocko. I don't think he beats Antonio Carlos Jr. I don't think he beats a lot of these guys. They're just... the generation has passed. This should be a torch-passing moment. Unfortunately, it's from a 45-year-old to a 36-year-old. But the 36-year-old doesn't seem to be slowing down. He actually seems to be fighting the best fights of his career right now. And Anderson, you can really argue that the guy just has not looked good in many years. So, unfortunately, from one GOAT to the other, Khabib wins last weekend, and now we move to the old GOAT, Anderson Silva, and I can't get behind him. If 2 GOATs were to win back-to-back like that, magical moment. Anderson Silva going out on a win for his retirement fight, magical moment. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, you and I have discussed this. Magical moments are just not the fight game, right? You want to see Walt Harris.
Most people don't leave on top like Khabib did.
No, as far as a
GSP.
retirement, Khabib's lucky he said it after the fight, not before, because that's where the real curse sets in. But you know what I'm saying, right? With Anderson Silva, we say Uriah Hall's off shooting a movie, like maybe he's distracted. It's like that's been Anderson's life the last 10 years. Shooting commercials, doing this, seminar over here, autograph signing over here, an appearance for this, gotta do some media, gotta do that. Like, he is who he is. The UFC should have given him a softer opponent and a 3-round fight. But when you make that much money, maybe Anderson Silva, they don't do you no favors. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, the pro wrestling term is better to go out on your back. It looks like that's what's going to happen to the Spider.
All right, co-main event, we've got Bryce Mitchell taking on Andre Touchy Fili. Bryce Mitchell, minus 145 favorite. Fili can be had for plus 125. Watching tape on these guys. Bryce Mitchell has went through... all of his fights in the UFC since getting the call up to the big boy promotion here. The kid's grappling super slick. When he gets the fight to the mat, he's always looking for that twister. It's pretty, it's fun, it's exciting. Stand-up has a lot of work to be done still. He did catch Bobby Moffitt with a nice straight left at the beginning of their fight. So there is a bit of pop there. But what I see on tape is Andre Fili. I go to the Dennis Bermudez fight, and Bermudez is shooting tons of takedowns. Doesn't actually land one until round 3 against him. And Fili is doing all the right things, fighting it off. And, Yeah, honestly, his takedown defense looks pretty solid. I didn't see him defending too many single legs, and that seems to be the way that Bryce Mitchell tries to get his takedowns. But at the current price, I think it's plus 125. Now, I hit it at plus 135. I feel like Fili probably wins this fight 6 to 7 times out of 10. He's just much more experienced, just has the better, well-rounded skill set. And I really think if Bryce Mitchell can't get the takedown, he's in for a long night. And all fights start on the feet. So Andre Touchy-Fili, give me underdog at plus 125. I would still bet it. Yeah, the line should probably be minus 150 in my humble opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that part of it's everyone really likes Bryce Mitchell.
I own a Bryce Mitchell shirt and I didn't wear it today.
So
Why?
that's part of it. That's part of it, is that people own the shirt. People love watching this guy. The UFC's considering making camo shorts just for Bryce Mitchell.
No, they made them. He's got them.
There you go. Like, how signature is that? That this guy who's essentially a mid-carder, who's got 3 fights in the UFC, he's only 26 years old. Where's the marketability there? But there is marketability there. He's super fun. He's very exciting. He's still young. Gives good interviews. He's going to be a fan favorite. Match this guy up appropriately. Move him along. Now you get an Andre Fili fight. Like maybe people get the impression that's moving him along in the right direction, but it's like it seems to me like it's a little too much too soon. Andre Fili's been in there with the best guys in the division. Andre Fili's a multiple-time UFC veteran. Been with the promotion for a while, and it's the growth that he's made inside the ring that gives him the advantage here. Because you talk about the takedown defense, I thought that was really interesting. Andre Fili, like once upon a time, Yair Rodriguez has taken him down, Hackran Diaz has taken him down, Calvin Kattar took him down twice, Dennis Bermudez takes him down. It's the time since then. That's basically 3 years. We obviously know he's that team alpha male. The whole gym is short, stocky, power wrestlers. Being tall, lanky guy like Andre Fili, the only guy that didn't wrestle in high school, didn't wrestle in college, in there in the wrestling room every day with these D1 All-Americans. How do you survive? You have to learn to survive through the fire. And since then, not taken down, The Michael Johnson fight, Miles Jury, Shayman Moraes, Sodiq Youssef, Charles Roudet, not everyone's trying to take him down. I'm saying is that he's not getting taken down. Wrestling seems to be okay. What I've noticed with Fili is that it seemed like, what's his game plan? He's not a wrestler. Can wrestle, but he's not a wrestler.
He's a striker. Wrestling himself.
He's a striker. Then you see him in these spots like the Artem Lobov fight or the fight with Charles Jourdain. It's like, is he a striker? Because now someone's willing to strike with him, and he needs to default to his wrestling, or he's going to lose. The advantage here is that he doesn't probably need to default to his wrestling to still win a striking battle. Bryce Mitchell will hit him. Bryce Mitchell's willing to come forward. Bryce Mitchell has a good chin. But as far as the technique goes, there's still a lot of development that has to go there. Now, he's really strong. Farm boy strong. If he gets a hold of Andre Fili, he could take him down. But then furthermore, submitting Andre Fili on that first takedown attempt is going to be difficult. And the longer this one goes, if you're not getting these takedowns, he's going to have a legitimate chance. The 3 guys he's fought to this point,
Fili's got a 4-inch reach advantage in this spot. So if we're on the feet, Fili can hit Bryce Mitchell where Bryce Mitchell can't hit him.
And Fili fights like a guy who has a 4-inch reach advantage. He likes to stay on the outside, and he likes to go singular strikes. Jab, kick, jab. He fights long. If you want to throw combinations, great, because 1, 2, 3, Mitchell's going to eventually time it and duck under and try to take you down. The more punches you throw, the more openings there are for him to get that takedown. Jabbing from the outside, there's no opening. He's just going to punch and move. And as far as all the fans are going to boo, no fans there. But as far as, who wants to win a fight like that running away and just chip-shotting? It's like veterans. And Andre Fili's a veteran. He understands that's how you win a fight.
When your pay is win and show,
you gotta win.
Everybody wants to win by any means necessary.
I'll try to knock this guy out, but if I can't knock him out quick, then I'm going to settle into a rhythm and chip shot away at him. So I think that Mitchell's still got some development to do, and I think that he's going to be, I don't want to say a star, maybe a star personality-wise, but
if his striking catches up, he'll be a big problem for people, for sure.
And he seems like from his time to The Ultimate Fighter until now, he's getting better. He's making those improvements. No reason to believe that he's not going to continue that. But because he's a fan favorite right now, you're getting a minus 145 tag on a guy, Andre Fili, that stylistically is going to pose him problems, and just, general ring savvy-ship is going to pose him problems. So, to be honest, I like a lot of favorites on this card, but we're going to start with one here in Andre Fili. I think he's the live dog.
We got Kevin Holland taking on Mahmoud Muradov. Kevin Holland minus 140 favorite, Muradov a plus 120. Where's your head at on this one?
Okay, so it's hard to get a good read on this one, just because it's really hard to get a read on Kevin Holland in general. I mean, he fights to his opponent's level sometimes. He shows just a tremendous amount of ability other times. He's an athletic specimen, being that he's that tall, that rangy, moves well. We used the term earlier, plays with his food. I don't know if that's what he's doing because he's not clearly beating these guys. He's just dicking around in spots where it's like, maybe just do it a little bit more. Very frustrating to watch him. Anytime you bet him as a favorite, you're going to feel really bad because it's going to be a close fight. You're going to get a close fight. You're going to be irritated. You're going to be like, come on, Kevin, do a little bit more. But you're going to see these flashes and these glimpses of brilliance. You know, the long side kick from the outside, got a good jab, got a good right hand. Cardio starting to catch up. He was a guy that notoriously gassed out, later fights go. Starting to get better. But again, I mean, his run, the Anthony Hernandez fight, it ends very, very early. The Joaquin Buckley fight, Buckley's on really short notice, gives a really good account of himself. And Buckley turned out to be not so bad. But Kevin Holland, but the Darren Stewart fight in particular, it's like now I'm a big favorite. I've got multiple passive victory over Darren Stewart. Everyone's hyping me up here. And it's the same Kevin Holland bullshit. Like, eventually, he's not taking you down. If you're not trying to take him down, you guys are striking.
Wrestling is a big liability.
It is a lot. It is a liability. Now, with Mahmoud Muradov, he comes to the UFC, and right away, he's touted as like, oh, this is the only MMA fighter that's managed by Floyd Mayweather. So he's got a little bit of hype right off the get-go. When you see him there, it's like he's Uzbekistanian, but he's not this guy that is, oh, Muradov's going to come with murderous power puncher and kill guys. He's got 30 pro fights. He, again, just knows how to get the win. He likes to fight to get the win. His run inside of the UFC, Alicio Di Chirico and Trevor Smith, yeah, not the most exciting. He's been off a year since then. Got the win over Trevor Smith where he's able to knock him out late. But it's like he doesn't make a whole lot of, he doesn't have a whole lot of holes in his game. He's a generalist. He's not great in any one area, I don't think. But he's technically sound. He's technically tight. That's going to give Kevin Holland problems, I think. Because Holland's not going to go there and take down Muradov. But I think that Mahmoud could get him down. As far as the striking goes, like, again, yeah, Kevin Holland's rangier guy. He's maybe a little bit faster, stays to the outside, uses that jab. But I can't really rely on him to fight a consistent, smart game plan for 5 rounds or for 3 rounds throughout. If this fight was on the island, I'd be all over Muradov as a dog play. Now I'm leaning to more as a dog or pass type play, but that still leaves me with the dog selection of Mahmoud Muradov at plus 120. I honestly think he's another one of these dogs on the card that has a chance. He's got the striking, the wrestling, the all-around grappling, multiple pass again that he could get the win over Kevin Holland, and he's dog money. So
I already bet him at plus 135 as the underdog. Reasons why, I think, as you were talking about, more of a generalist. He's giving up 5.5 inches of reach. That's going to be problematic. You cannot hang out at range. You're going to get clipped like Joaquin Buckley did. You just stay at the end of if you stay at the end of his punches, you're gonna eat it. But in fairness to Muradov, he's never been knocked out. He's on a 13-fight winning streak. At the end of the end of round 2 against Trevor Smith, we did see it's just like he gets Trevor Smith to the ground and like really, really quickly jumps on the back, starts going for the choke. The bell rings. But like he was very opportunistic in that spot. What I want as a Muradov bettor is like we gotta push into range here. We can't be hanging out at the end of Kevin Holland's punches here. We get inside of that range and make this a dogfight. Do what Darren Stewart did. Hold him up against the cage. Tire him out. By the time we get to round 3, Kevin Holland doesn't have the same zip. Against Joaquin Buckley, knocked him out at the end of was in round 2.
Yeah.
But that was fine. There was no grappling. It's the grappling that seems to really tire Holland out. And
Buckley
Holland,
was sucking wind too.
Holland, like, you go to like the Gerald Mearshart fight, and it's just like, he was flopping all over the place. It's like when you force Kevin Holland to grapple and you force him into those exchanges, it does empty the tank on him. I think those are still liabilities for him, so I had to take the dog here. I do think it's pretty close to a 50-50 fight because if we don't break that range, then we probably get picked apart with that 5.5 inches of reach. Holland just he's a precision striker from that range. But I'm lying on the fact that 13-fight winning streak, never been knocked out. I thought at plus 135, it was worth a gamble. I think we've done all we need to do on that one. Let's move on to the next one. We got Greg Hardy taking on Maurice Greene, your guy. Ooh. Check out the picture.
Oh, one eye's looking at me, one eye's looking at Rick.
There we go. Greg Hardy, minus 325 favorite. Maurice Greene, plus 265. Where's your head at on this one?
Well, it seems like Greg Hardy would fall into your play of the week, put him on parlays. How's he going to lose to Maurice Greene? But that's kind of the impression I get out of it. Maurice Greene, first and foremost, you and I ran that tough pool once upon a time. Maurice Greene on it would have scored great because the guy, he's obviously an athlete. He's obviously a good fighter, right? It's that there's levels to it, right? And Maurice Greene drinking those beers in the tough house, smoking his cigs. He's the crochet boss, likes to crochet on the side. This guy's not like the epitome of athleticism, but he's such a big guy. Gets away with it. He's more of a kickboxer, fought for the Glory promotion. Again, not great, but more of a traditional martial arts stance. Likes to throw the teep right through the center. Kicks from range, has a decent jab. Cardio, not very good. Sometimes he shows up in good shape. Other times, not such great shape. But he's just so big, Paul. Now, for a guy that's 6'7", has that kind of reach on him, he's not a power puncher.
No.
But he's got a good jab on him, stays to the outside, hits away at you. Well, damn, that's the thing, is that he's really falling into like poor man Greg Hardy's status when you consider his skill set and Greg Hardy's. Now, Greg Hardy, again, he can match that size.
Sounds more like poor man's Alexander Volkov.
Yeah, well, speaking of Volkov, and Volkov had a lot of success against Greg Hardy. But one, Greg Hardy takes the fight on a week's notice because he had the puffer incident. And then as I'm sorry, I'll make one back for you. Takes a 3-round main event fight against Alexander Volkov in Russia. Now, we all know how good Volkov is. We all know how Volkov just chip away at you. Doesn't defeat Hardy soundly. Oh, yeah, he wins all 3 rounds. Don't get me wrong. Hardy's mostly just lost.
Well, Hardy didn't look completely out of place against a guy with that many professional fights.
Of course. Now, Hardy's 6'5". He has an 80-inch reach, 80-plus inch reach. I mean, that's a lot of his
pedigree to the max.
For sure. But like a lot of what he relies on is just that sheer size and length as well. So with Maurice Greene, it's like, well, his number one weapon, Hardy's able to take it off the table. Hardy struggled against Volkov's range, but one, that's Volkov, right? He's going to throw combinations, and he can fight 3 rounds. No problem. Whereas like Maurice Greene, it's like he needs to probably knock out Hardy early in the first round, or else Hardy's just going to soundly chip away at him. And the problem is that as big as he is, he's not a power puncher. Now I see him versus John Vellante, and Paul, one of the reasons I'm a balding man is because of fights like that. like what are you doing, man? What are you doing? But Maurice Greene fighting a guy half his size, allowing him to take it to him, and then in the third round,
after Vellante went full Vellante, he went full Collier.
Yeah, he's full Jake Collier Collier, what do you want to call it, on the scale. He's absolutely gigantic, out of shape, goes in there, half motivated, and all of a sudden it's like he's marching down Maurice Greene. Oh, he's landing on Maurice Greene. Oh, Maurice Greene's tired. And then when he took him down...
Oh my God, he's on top of Maurice Greene. Oh my God, John Vellante is going to win this fight. Oh my God, Maurice Greene catches a sub from bottom.
Oh yeah. All the ingredients are on the table, and then there's a big old pile of shit about to go in the pie. He's on his back. It's 1-1. He's about to lose his fight. And he submits him, which is like the flukiest Ezekiel off your back. Maybe learned it from Alexei Olenek. Who knows? The fact is, the right man won. Everybody's happy. But you can't discredit the fact that it's like, man, he's not even looking good against a 205. He's just willing to move forward. So with Greg Hardy, listen, he's shown he's got really good chin. Who's rocked Greg Hardy? Nobody. And he's fought some pretty good guys to this point. Better levels of competition. When he fights those mid-range, low mid-range guys, he usually goes out there and styles on them. Now, one thing is, you look at his early career, you think he is a murderous power puncher. But ATT's got it so ingrained in him that just, you're so athletic that once you pick up the technique, you're going to be a lot more technically sound than these guys.
Yep.
So let's get the technique. Let's not take risks. Risk management.
Yeah, we saw it like on his Contender Series fights. He was just bombs away. He was running forward. He looked real sloppy. We've seen a totally different guy in these other fights that we've seen from
Right.
Greg
So
Hardy.
right, and then with Greene, it's like the Jeff Hughes fight. Jeff Hughes just fights the world's worst game plan. It's a split decision. He still could have defeated Maurice Greene. It's not a good look. The Albini fight, take him out quick. That's his key. Take him out quick. Pavlich and Olenek, again, not looking good. Jean Vellante, not looking good. At this point, it's like Maurice Greene's 34 years old. He's fought for glory. He's fought for the UFC. He's been in the Ultimate Fighter. He's been under the bright lights. He's training, I believe, at Factory X now. He does appear to be in better shape, but you haven't seen the improvements. Whereas, like, you can hate Greg Hardy as much as you want, but you can't discredit the fact that, like, there's actual improvements fight to fight. Either his footwork gets better, either his punches are a little cleaner, a little sounder, either, his cardio is a little bit better. He doesn't need the puffer anymore. Like, he is making improvements. So I'm going to have to go with Greg Hardy. As much as I don't love putting heavyweights on parlays and all that, we did it last week with Volkov. We'll end up doing it again this time. Greg Hardy over Maurice Greene.
Yep, I'm on the same page here. I've actually parlayed him already with somebody else on the card. I just kind of think the big thing that he doesn't seem to know how to do yet is defend leg kicks. Against Yorgan De Castro, Greg Hardy was just eating leg kick after leg kick. He hasn't checked them whatsoever. But Yorgan De Castro is throwing absolute bombs at those legs.
And he's a leg kick specialist.
Did
Greg seem hurt?
No, he just kind of kept moving forward. Now, I'm sure
Learning
they go
experience.
back to the gym. They
Yes.
work on these types of things. You see Maurice Greene throw leg kicks, similar, same type of spot. He can take advantage of that, but I think if he got through Yorgan De Castro's leg kicks, like these ones are going to feel like nothing. Like those other ones were clubbing hits to his legs and didn't really seem to phase him. The one thing, Greg, you're on my parlay, don't do this. Do not follow him to the ground.
No, I agree. That triangle is live.
Against Pavlovich, Maurice Greene gets hit, kind of just realizes I can't hang with this guy on the feet, flops to his back. Pavlovich knows. He kind of just stands there and kind of continues to throw punches. Do not follow this guy to the ground, because if you hit him cleanly, he may flop if he thinks that he's not going to be able to finish you on the feet. I mean, Greg Hardy looks really, really durable, so why would you think you can finish him on the feet? That would be my one concern here. Do not follow him to the ground, Greg. I'm sure the geniuses over at ATT are whispering the same things in his ear, though. So, yeah, Greg Hardy, let's go.
I would tell him, if you catch a kick and you do fall to the ground, half guard. Nothing but half guard. I don't want side control. I don't want full guard. I don't want mount, back takes. You half guard him. No submissions from half guard. Hang out here. But I think they're smart enough to be like, dude, he literally just submitted John Volante's last time out with a nothing move. Don't be like that.
Yeah, don't hang.
No
reason to go down there.
No, and he's got the triangle choke over Michel Batista.
Greg Hardy is obviously very, very new in the game. It's just like, I'm sure his grappling is very, very much a work in progress, but he's so strong and athletic. I think he'd probably be able to force himself. It's like Derek Lewis. When Derek Lewis gets taken down, he just like kind of just gets up because he's so big and strong. Hopefully that's the case with Hardy. But yeah, just don't even end up in that situation, and you should be able to win this fight. They know. All right, we got Bobby Greene taking on Thiago Moises. Bobby Greene minus 300 favorite. Thiago Moises plus 250. Bobby Greene and Greg Hardy is the parlay that I've already made. Bobby Greene, the COVID king at this point. All it took to get this guy to fight like multiple times a year is a damn pandemic, it seems.
Isn't that strange?
I mean, he's a strange guy. He's went through issues in his life. I feel like he's 34, obviously, but I feel like all the skills, they've kind of always been there, but we're just kind of seeing the best of him right now. In that fight against Nugeti, he hung out. Nugeti's a black belt, maybe not the submission specialist that Thiago Moises is, but he was able to hang with him on the ground. Transitions were real nice. Watching Michael Johnson versus Thiago Moises, like Michael Johnson, arguably, we have like a 10-8 on our hands round one.
Yeah, he beat him up pretty good in the first.
He beat him up so much that Thiago Moises comes streaming across at the beginning of round two and dives on a leg lock, gets the finish, but like that was not a great performance from him whatsoever. I think Bobby Greene's grappling is considerably better. The one issue that you have with Bobby Greene, now his volume has been going up. These COVID fights, his volume has been on a different level than what we had seen in some of his other, piss poor performances before. The one thing is that sometimes he walks forward, hands down, and he just eats shots to prove that whatever. I don't understand what he's trying to prove. That is definitely in play. But I think he's the much more well-rounded fighter. I think he wins on the feet. The guy has a cast iron chin, so I'm not too worried about that. Just stay out of big-time grappling exchanges. Keep this on the feet. Bobby Greene should roll in this spot. So I parlayed, Bobby Greene and Greg Hardy. I think it came to like minus 126. I like it.
You know what? I like him. I always like him. You know that. I'm a Bobby Greene supporter. But the one thing I'm struggling a little bit is the price tag of minus 300. Because you and I always get Bobby Greene for a fair price because we know he's going to go out there, going to act a fool, act clown a little bit. Again, play with his food. But he's got all the skills. He's got all the skills in the world. You talk about a guy with a cast iron chin. Yeah, Bobby Greene got one hell of a chin. Unless you're Justin Poirier, you're not putting this man down. As far as his grappling goes, it's like Bobby Greene hasn't been submitted since 2009. He's fought in some of the best grapplers around, lots of BJJ black belts, but it's like he's slick. His counterpunching is great. I mean, he's one of those guys that uses the Fili shell style defense standing, and he's great. But it's a career worth way back to 2009, Affliction 1. It's just like, man, he's always clowning around in there. That's part of his demeanor. That's part of who he is. When you see him fight once a year, I feel like it's just like, it's almost ring rust. You get in there, your timing's not quite there. Maybe you're sparring in the gym, maybe you're not sparring in the gym, but now you got a real life fight, and it's just once every 10 months, once every year. He's always in there. He's always competitive. He's always close, but he's losing those close decisions. Mm-hmm. Them packing in the 4 fights in like 9 months for him, like that's perfect because now he's just going from camp to camp, fight to fight. His timing's good, everything's good. The problem is that he's still fighting these relatively close fights in that Bobby Greene, as slick as he is and as crafty as he is, he's not a power puncher. No. There was once upon a time where he was knocking guys out, but those days are long gone. He doesn't really throw combinations. It's more of a one punch out of a time. But yeah, just like there's no stinging power to it. Everything's a decision. And when you're fighting guys to a decision, they're going to be remotely close. The Clay Guida fight was remotely close. The Lando Venata fight, he pulled away down the stretch. But I mean, look at the first Lando Venata fight again. They're all very close. I thought he beat Trikar close. I thought he beat Francisco Trinaldo. This man, as far as I'm concerned, is on a 6-fight winning streak. Mm-hmm. And the Lando Venata fight, which was a draw, it's like, again, he had his moments. He had a 10-8 round. Or sorry, he won the last 2 rounds, I guess. He had a 10-8 against him. It's like, Bobby's got the skill, but when you're going to decision every time, they're going to be close decisions. When they're close decisions, I don't want minus 300. So as far as the fight stays stand-up, yeah, I agree. Thiago Moises looked like a fish out of water against Michael Johnson. He has been an okay striker at some points in his career, but Bobby Greene is just such an exceptional counterpuncher. If Thiago Moises tries to lead the dance, Bobby Greene's going to beat him. If Thiago Moises sits back and tries to counterpunch over Bobby Greene's going to beat him. He's going to force that action, try to get the takedown. But taking down Bobby Greene's hard. Yeah. And once you take down Bobby Greene, holding down Bobby Greene is hard. So against Michael Johnson, you're right. He looks out of that fight, and then he flops for a leg lock, and then hits
it works.
And it works. With like Bobby Greene, it's like, man, he's so slick, he's so hard to get a hold of, and he's such a non-choker like Michael Johnson. That's like, I don't know that you can just flop on a leg lock.
No,
I like Bobby Greene. Bobby Greene always fights like a minus 140, minus 150 type favorite at most. Minus 300, I'm really struggling to wrap my head around that one. I would say Bobby Greene by decision, try to get a better price just because he's got an entire history of it. Thiago Moises he took some big shots against Johnson, hung in there long enough to get the win. So if Greene doesn't put him away, and I don't have any reason to believe he will, I'm looking at a Bobby Greene by decision to improve that minus 300.
What is the price there? Prop bet Matt on the call.
Bobby Greene by decision is minus 135.
Wow.
That's a much better price.
Especially considering, so Alan Patrick decision, Lando Venata decision, Clay Guida decision, the 2 ones close, and Trinaldo both decision. Beat Eric Koch by decision. Lando Venata decision, Rashid Magomedov decision, Dustin Poirier knocked him out. Prior to that, he went to the decision with Barbosa, decision over Josh Thompson, decision over Pat Healy, and he kicked James Krause in the balls. I don't care what anybody says, man. Watch the replay. And he finished James Krause on a ball kick, where James Krause is like, oh, my nuts. And then the ref was like, no, belt line, called it off. One guy knocked him out, Dustin Poirier. Oh, man, sorry. And then he defeated James Krause on a low kick to the nuts, if you will. Yeah. If you can improve 300 to minus 135, I take it.
Yeah, that seems pretty fair to me. All right, we got Alexander Hernandez taking on Chris Gruetzemacher, minus 380. Hernandez, who is the biggest favorite on the card at this current moment. Gruetzemacher could be had for plus 315. Where's your head at on this one?
Yeah, so this is probably the one that ends up shitting my apple pie, but I'm really high on Alex Hernandez. And Alex Hernandez comes to the UFC. Obviously, he has the huge episode over Beneil Dariush. We get it. Maybe this is a hyped prospect. He's still young. He looks like he's really explosive. But right off the get-go, he was the big dick in his gym, right? He's the toughest guy in his small little gym. I believe it was in Texas. Mm-hmm. And he runs the show. And he's got a big-time fucking attitude on him and a chip on his shoulder. Probably because he's the toughest guy in the room. You don't fuck with Alex Hernandez where he's from. That big mouth gets him into a bad situation against Donald Cowboy Cerrone, where, again, here's a guy that's growing, getting better. We talked about Mitchell
Getting
earlier.
hyped a little bit too quickly.
Getting hyped too quick. Oh, you beat Beneil Dariush. Oh, you beat Olivier Aubé-Mercier. You should fight Donald Cerrone. It's like, but he accepts it, and he talks one hell of a game. Unfortunately, mouth just writing checks that his ass could not cash.
No.
And Donald Cerrone puts a beating on him. That should have been the humbling experience. I was like, okay, that's what Hernandez needs. I don't think he was all the way humbled when he fought Francisco Trinaldo, and it's a bad performance, man. He's lucky to get that decision over Francisco Trinaldo. The fight's in Texas. Again, Hernandez, Texas boy, gets the decision, but not a very good fight for him. But hey, who fights Francisco Trinaldo coming off a loss in their 3rd fight in the UFC? Like, that's a tough go. And then again, they give him Drew Dober after that. He comes in as a favorite over Drew Dober. We believe it was Dober on the rise. Hernandez, who knows what he's up to. But again, it's a bad loss to Drew Dober. You see where the skill's there. The kid can wrestle. He pops pretty good. I like his movement. He's stiff at times, but you can say where this guy's just a powerhouse. He's got a wrestling background. He's still only 26. He should be able to put it together. He's not able to. But now he's left his confines of his small gym in Texas.
And he's in Denver.
He's
Factory X
in Denver.
Muay Thai.
Factory X Muay Thai, right? So one, that altitude should help him out because he's a guy that looks like he can push a pace, but his cardio hasn't really been checking out the last number of fights. Let's get that cardio exactly where it needs to be. As far as game planning, perfect. As far as training partners to work with, perfect. As far as improving your striking game, perfect. He's all in the right places where now he's not the big dick in the room. He's maybe an average sized dick, 6 inches at most. But that's going to be better for him in taking those experiences in the gym, growing, getting better, and I think that's what we're going to see against Chris Gruetzemacher, is that the UFC is now giving him a very winnable fight to say, hey, let's see if this kid's an all the way busted prospect or if he's able to come back. And with Chris Gruetzemacher, he hasn't fought in 2.5 years, and it's a career best win over Joe Lozon. Mm-hmm. And then just, some injuries, life gets in the way. He's 34 years old. He's a complete general. So he can wrestle a little bit, he can strike a little bit, he can grapple a little bit.
Seems pretty undersized.
Very undersized to Hernandez, and he's honestly giving up the skill advantage in every facet of the game. Maybe you can say that his grinding durability and his heart is better than Hernandez. Yeah, cardio could be better, but if Hernandez shores that up and he doesn't get finished in the 3rd round by Gruetzemacher, he's going to go up 2 rounds on him. And you got to say, with Lozon, it says TKO due to retirement, and it was one of those legitimate, that's the end.
His corner basically
Joe
threw in the towel, right?
They threw in the towel. They were like, "That's it." And then, he took that fight against Jonathan Pierce, I guess, after that. But it was very much like, this is the end of a road for a guy. Chris Gruetzemacher was just the person that was there to capitalize. Then he doesn't fight for all that time. I would really have to say Hernandez should go out there, and they've given him the perfect guy for him to show the improvements he's made, get his confidence going. If you get his confidence going early, he takes out Gruetzemacher. So whereas you have Bobby Greene parlay with Greg Hardy, I'm leaning towards with Hernandez with Greg Hardy, and then have Bobby Greene on parlays, obviously maybe like a notch below.
Yeah, I understand where all of that is coming from. The one thing that I do see from him, and I don't really know if it's a cardio issue, but it's when he takes damage, he slows down significantly. We see it in the fight against Drew Dober specifically, Cerrone. It's just he looks gassed, but it's because he takes damage, but he doesn't get knocked out. So the chin definitely holds up for him. Gruetzemacher isn't exactly a potent finisher by any stretch of the imagination. I think the best strategy for him is what we have seen against like Trinaldo, which is a real shit fight. Rewatching that one was pretty painful, but he just kind of stayed around at range. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage here. Pop, 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 pop. Yeah. Wait for the little guy I mean, Chris Gruetzemacher, no disrespect here. He kicked the living shit out of me, obviously. But stay on the outside. Hopefully the move to Denver helps the cardio, because that strategy, he is moving a lot more, I think, than he really needs to.
I agree. A lot of wasted
Trinaldo
space.
is walking him down, but like there's a lot of wasted energy bouncing around the outside.
He did that against Dober as well.
And then round 3, he's slowing down again against Trinaldo. So hopefully for his sake, that's my only concern, is that I don't know whether it's a cardio issue or whether it's a damage issue, but he definitely has been slowing down, and that strategy of fighting from the outside, which I think is his best path to victory in this fight, does seem to kind of tire him out, because I think there's a lot of wasted energy. But I do think Alexander Hernandez should get through Chris Gruetzemacher. So let's move on to the next one. We've got Adrian Yanez taking on Victor Rodriguez. Adrian Yanez minus 360 favorite. Victor Rodriguez can be had for plus 300. Rodriguez coming in on short notice, and this guy's got like a weird, looking at his record, there's a 4-year gap.
Mm-hmm. After 2 losses, you got to assume he retires.
And then he comes back and the fights, it was hard to even find some of them, but the fights that he's taking on are against like absolute nobodies up on the Alaskan circuit. And then he takes on this one kid who was, I guess, like 7-0 or 8-0 coming into it, and he lays a licking on him, but against Masaryk in his most recent fight. He got stunned a couple times on the feet. He's coming in on short notice. This is his opportunity to make a name for himself. But the real question I have is, it was like 4 years off. What really was going on there? Maybe the guy's turned a new page. He's onto a new level, but any of these guys coming from legacy right now, it's tricky if you're a low-level prospect like Rodriguez. He's definitely like a grinder. The wrestling seems all right. Like, I don't absolutely hate this guy, but I think he is outmatched, especially coming on short notice against Yanez. But I don't really want to be paying the piper of minus 360 here. I think there are definitely holes in Yanez's game right now as well.
Yeah,
they're both kind of. I mean, there's too many question marks for me still.
Yeah, no, that's the reason why I don't pull this one. I was like, yeah, this is definitely parlay material as well, because Adrian Yanez just screams, put me on your parlays, boss. I will come through for you. But then the other part is like, geez, two young guys. Technically speaking, this is a UFC debut. He just won the one fight on Contender Series. He's still only 26. There are still holes in his game. He's very aggressive, and he has struggled to a certain extent against wrestlers in the past, although, I mean, he's survived to live the tale every time. So, yeah, work in progress developing, and I do like the kid. He earned the contract the right way, comes to the UFC, gets a scheduled opponent, and obviously now he's got to settle for the late nose replacement in Victor Rodriguez. Now, let's try to theorize, like, why does this kid, he's 22 years old, he loses 2 fights, and then he just takes 4 years off. But it's like, you know what? He's in Alaska. Like, what do you do in Alaska?
Jump on a fishing...
Yeah, you crab fish. You crab fish. That's what you do in Alaska, right? So
or
you're
maybe
20.
some like oil work or something like that.
You're 22 years old. Now you're done high school. You're not pursuing anything in college. You're in Alaska. You got to make some money. And by the way, crab fishing pays really well. You just lost 2 fights. Maybe this aspiration of becoming a professional mixed martial artist is not for you. So you go out. You get a little bit older. I think he was like 22 years old again when he retires. Now you comes back 4 years later, and yeah, he's been on a roll. Problem is that he's fighting such low-level guys on his fellow Alaskan circuit. Now, I'll admit, you see Jared Mazurek, and you're like, okay, here's somebody that's 8-1. Here's somebody that's got some wins under his belt. He's a little more experienced, and this is at least a better litmus test for him. And
watching that fight is just like, that's not like...
Jared Mazurek is also from Alaska, first of all, and he's just a purist jiu-jitsu guy. He has no other game other than flopping around for submissions. So once he's able to just, not get stuck in those submissions, he's a grindy type wrestler guy. But anyways, doesn't get submitted, then he's able to put that beating on him. With Adrian Yanez, it's like, man, he's already beaten guys much, much better, right? His technical boxing.
Those legacy guys may come in at 8-1, but like the guys that they have fought to get that record, like there's no comparison to the Alaskan regional circuit.
Yeah, and again, so you look at Adrian Yanez, and his first career pro loss is Levi Moles, right? Listed as 0-0 at the time, 13-4 now, currently fighting for the CFFC championship, right? The guy's a total badass. You will see him in the UFC. Mark my words on that. His next loss is to Migo Pilarte on a split decision, right? And also the Moles fight's unanimous decision, but it's decision. He loses to Mingo Pilarte on a split. Pilarte's really long, kind of an awkward fighter for the division, but again, goes to the UFC veteran, split decision. And then his third and final loss, Miles John, who's also on this card, UFC veteran, very good wrestler, on a split decision. Like, he's competitive against these wrestlers. It's that maybe they're scoring a little more points on the scorecards because of the takedowns. But I do not think Rodriguez is nearly in the same class as those guys. And if he struggles to take Yanez down, he's going to get pieced apart. Because one thing I noticed about him is he's super hittable. And one thing we've noticed from Adrian Yanez in like the fights that he's knocking guys out, it's like
crisp striking.
Very crisp, good hands, hot hands, good power behind them, and it's like he's technically very sound. Now, when you talk about a 26-year-old, he's getting better. He's training, I believe, at Fortis MMA now. He's got a lot of good training partners in the room. He's improving. He's getting better. When you think about Rodriguez, he's taking this fight on short notice. He hasn't been able to leave the confines of his comfort zone to like make those big improvements. And it's not that he's not going to come in good shape, ready to fight. It's that this is a big task for him. So, yeah. I mean, you look at Yanez, you look at the minus 360 favorites, it's like, UFC debut, still only 26 years old. The other guy's a bit of a question mark because you don't see as much tape as you'd like to see. That's because it doesn't exist.
Tape against decent level competition isn't out there because he hasn't. This is the toughest fight he's ever had by a long shot.
And then the last thing I got to say is, coming in with a game plan right away, the game plan is, okay, I need to take this guy down, I need to grind this guy. That is a very difficult game plan to stick to when you're on short notice, right? Mm-hmm. Because just wrestling's difficult. And if you're not going to take Yanez down, and you're not going to control him, and you're not going to kill out the clock, then you're going to have to stand with him. And if you have to stand with him, it's not going to be a good night. So honestly, Yanez makes a lot of sense on DraftKings as well because he's got high potential for a finish, maybe even a quick finish. And as far as 360 looks like, he's going to be parlay material. I just don't know that you trust him all the way at the top because there's a little bit of variables and question marks still.
We got Sean Strickland taking on Jack Marshman. Sean Strickland minus 335 favorite. Jack Marshman can be had 4+ 275. Looking through Sean Strickland, former welterweight Sean Strickland. He was a very, very big welterweight.
Big long,
Sean Strickland's Instagram feed, very active. He's posting stuff all the time. So he was in a motorcycle accident 2 years ago.
Same thing as Frank Mir, I think.
Absolutely destroyed his knee. Now he's moving up to 185 pounds. You see him in the gym, and whenever, especially when you're moving weight classes from 170, 185, we always say it's like with Dustin Poirier. It's just like you progressively, when he moved from 145 to 155, you progressively saw him put on a little bit more muscle, fine tune, the engine a little bit more. This is his first fight back, gruesome leg injury. Going through some of his fights, I mean, I wasn't impressed with a lot of the stuff I saw on tape from Sean Strickland. Not minus 335. Now, Jack Marshman, the good thing for him is that he's taking on a middleweight who probably should be a welterweight as well. Strickland's still going to have reach advantage here. But we have seen Strickland stunned in a few of his fights, notably against Nordine Taleb. He ended up getting the finish, but he's kind of just barging forward, just swinging at him during that fight. I don't really love his wrestling. That's what you're to really, really dominate Jack Marshman. That's what you should be doing. I mean, the guy's in the gym every single day. It's his recovery, comeback from this gruesome injury. But up a weight class, minus 335 price tag. It's an easy spot to stay away from a betting perspective for me. But Strickland is my pick. I can't pick Marshman at this point in his career. On the other hand of the thing, Marshman's I can't find out what the hell he's been up to. There's nothing on Instagram, social media whatsoever. So it's kind of an absolute, no idea what the guy's going to look like when he shows up.
Yeah, basically, you have to take a blind filler out on Sean Strickland, and the problem is you don't want to do that because of the time off and because of the injury. And then let's face it, when he was fighting, he's always a big favorite, but he's just so lackadaisical. He doesn't push the issue. He doesn't seem to have much finishing ability. I know he took out Nordine Taleb's last time out, but there's too much of just him standing there and just waiting for something to happen, waiting for the moment to happen, not really going after it. You talk to anybody that trained with this guy, and he was at a Dan Henderson's camp in Temecula, California, they just rave about him. It's just wow, talk about a special talent. Chris Curtis, Sam Alvey, all these guys talking just wow. Sean Strickland is one of the most talented guys you've ever trained with, an absolute beast, an absolute animal, great guy. He's going to be world championship material. Then you see what he translates to the octagon. It's I don't know. Maybe all the skill is there. He just doesn't put it on display. Now, I'm almost hoping it's a Tom Breeze situation. Sean Strickland doesn't seem like he's the most self-confident guy. I don't know. Maybe the self-belief's not there. I don't know. But the time off should be able to help this guy theoretically. Breeze, same thing. Take some time off, come back, show you that you have all the skill in the world. You just got to put it on display. For Sean Strickland, it's you know what? Maybe having everybody tell you how good you are, you're a future world champion, oh, you're so good, oh, you're so technical, oh, you've got this and that going for you, then it takes that motorcycle accident to put things into perspective. Geez, you know what? I'm not ever going to attain all my dreams. I'm not going to attain all the skill and potential that I have. I'm never going to get to that level. Now you come back, it's a motivator. You come
that
back.
Cut to 170 pounds is super, super challenging.
It's a very challenging cut, especially for him, because it's just he's a
motorcycle accident.
He's a big
probably
guy.
Can't do as much cardio, or it's a little bit more demanding to do the cardio on reconstructed knees.
Well, I would argue he was headed to middleweight anyways, just because you see
monstrous at 170.
Right. You see a lot of the fights where he's coming in at 170. He does look pretty drained, and then when he gets in there, he's not exerting a ton of energy, and yet there seems to be a fatigue to him. And it's possible he's not trying to exert himself because he knows he had a bad weight cut and he doesn't really want to go there and put it on. The UFC bringing him back and saying, here, fight a middleweight, that's a problem. But then bringing him back and say, here, fight Jack Marshman, well, that's right on. Because it's as far as his actual skill goes, let's just not talk about the philosophy of the injury and that. As far as his actual skill goes, he's got Jack Marshman beat everywhere. He's got better boxing. He's got better hands. He's just going to stay on the outside, use that jab. You would like to say, well, you know what? Marshman's more of an aggressor. He's more aggressive. He's going to come forward. He's going to swing those big hooks and try to catch him. Sean Strickland could just at any point take him down. Once he takes down Jack Marshman, Marshman's going to be a fish out of water. Realistically, Jack Marshman could be on a 4-fight losing streak right now, but he had the benefit of winning a split decision over John Phillips. Mind you, he was getting lit up standing, and he was able to take down John Phillips down. Not surprising. Everybody else, it's they make him look bad in there, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. And again, he's only 30, and he could be getting better, but he's been fighting a long time. He's a former Welsh boxing champion. It's you just don't see him put it all together. So for Strickland, it's a great bounce-back fight. It's a great comeback fight. But you hate betting anybody in that situation as a minus 335 favorite. Yeah. Especially with Marshman, it's well, what's his path of victory? It's land a big old punch. We've seen him do it before. He's got hot hands. He's got heavy hands.
Nordine stunned. But you could also make the argument that maybe up at middleweight,
you can make
there is more
arguments.
Power coming the other way. But yeah, Marshman, as I said earlier, was he's not exactly a big middleweight by any stretch of the imagination. And maybe he was draining himself so much to get down to 170 pounds that it hurt his ability to take damage. I mean, he still took that damage.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't even bring up the Elizu Zaleski fight because it's just like
Spinning
that spinning back hook kick, like shit. It was the perfect thing. Like he just got caught in that situation. Like you can't even. Jack Marshman's not coming out and throwing that shit. So, the pick is Strickland from the sounds of it for you. Will he be high up on your parlays this week or not?
Yeah, he'll be high enough up. But the whole career-wise, he's a favorite over Bub McDaniels, right? He's a favorite over Santiago. He's a 230 favorite over Santiago Ponzinibbio. He's a favorite over 425 Igor Arroyo, even money against Alex Garcia, favorite over Tom Breeze. Yeah, he was the underdog against Kamaru Usman, understandably so. But it's like, this guy's always the favorite. Versus Jack Marshman, you'd be dead hard to find him as a favorite over anybody. So it's just like you got one prospect, should have been something. You got Marshman. We know exactly where he's at, where he's going. The problem is the injury, the layoff, all these different things. Yeah, I'm not putting him on the top tier, and he actually does fall below Bobby Greene because, like, I know what I'm getting out of Bobby. Don't know what I'm getting out of Sean. But yeah, he's going to be on parlays.
We got Jason Witt taking on Cole Williams. Jason Witt minus 140 favorite. Cole Williams plus 120. What do we have here? Williams comes in 6 pounds overweight against Claudio Silva in his UFC debut. I mean, Cole Williams is 36. Jason Witt's 33. Neither one of these guys, these kind of look like guys that got here because it's COVID times and we need to fill cards up. This is probably the ugliest fight on the card, to be perfectly honest. Watching the tape here was not very, very pleasant. Williams' 3-inch reach advantage, but cardio and technique definitely on the side of Witt, in my opinion. I don't know. This is a real sloppy-looking fight. I don't expect it to be all that pretty, but Witt does seem to be the guy with the higher rate of activity. So like when he's out there, he's throwing more strikes. He's landing more. He's staying more busy. Probably, I guess Williams has a bit of a wrestling background before. I don't know. I did not. This is one I'll be maybe watching the weigh-in, see if maybe Williams shows up this time and he looks a lot better. But he looked like Dominic Cruz even like mocked him on the broadcast when he was talking about Claudio Silva. And Claudio Silva basically just like, once Claudio Silva got a hold of him, was able to find the sub pretty quick. Witt, on the other hand, his UFC debut just eats like basically one punch and just folds over. Like it's a loser leaves town match, basically. I'll ever so slightly right now before watching the weigh-ins lean towards Witt. I just think he is the more technically refined fighter, more activity. Williams, besides the UFC fight, really, like a lot of his earlier opponents, watching that tape, it's just like real low level. At least, Witt is taking on... what's that guy? Zach Busha, other guys that have at least fought at a higher tier of competition.
Zach Busha, he's fought a ton of UFC vets, that guy.
Yeah. Witt is the pick. Not betting this one, though. What about you?
Yeah, well, I would say it's probably definitely a pass type situation. Mm-hmm. You've got two of the lowest level guys on the card, and it is the closest match fight on the card, pretty much. Odds basically suggested. Mm-hmm. To me, it comes down to a dogger pass situation, though. I would say if you're going to give me a coin flip, 50-50, and one of them's going to play the 120, and one of them is minus 140, I got to go with Williams. As much as I agree with what you're saying, Witt's a little bit faster. He's got probably a little bit cleaner striking technique. He can't take a punch. He absolutely cannot take a punch.
DraftKings Williams, let's go.
Yeah, so Jason Witt's, as an amateur, he was actually knocked out twice, but that as far as his pro career, it's the same thing. I mean, Chase Rancounter. We all know Chase Rancounter. He was a grappler, by the way. It's like, knocks him out bad. Beyond that, I mean, you see him in wins get just absolutely stung. Justin Patterson knocks him out 13 seconds into the third round. Mark Lemminger has him fucking hurt. Hugh Pauly knocks him out. Ashkan Marvari seriously has him stung. Mm-hmm. This man should not be in the UFC. There's no world that exists that he's in the... Oh, wait, there is a world that exists where he's in the UFC. A pandemic world. And that's kind of where he finds he is able to get in the UFC, short notice replacement. We need a guy. This guy's on standby. He's in good shape. Apparently, he already went to Vegas and was on weight and was just hanging out, waiting for the call. They give him the call, and he goes out there and gets
He's
Takashi Sato.
What, he trains at Glory MMA and Fitness with James Krause.
But they had told guys come to Vegas in case we need somebody as a short notice replacement.
Yeah.
So apparently he had came down. Now, mind you,
They
watching
got Laura
that card,
Sanko, she's on the broadcast now. A couple whispers, hey Dana, get some of our guys. You've seen a lot more Glory MMA and Fitness guys kind of filling out these cards
Tanner
recently.
Boser fights on that card. He's the underdog against Felipe Lins, and boom, pops him. Hot punch, knocks him out. Dog hit. Nice. The very next fight, Kama Worthy submits Luis Pena. Nice, juicy, plus 325 dog hit. Nice. The very next fight, Julian Erosa pulls off a giant dog hit over Sean Woodson, submitting him in the third round. Sweet. And then Witt gets Takashi Sato. It's like, hey, dogs are barking tonight. It's like, no. Folded over like a cheap tent, less than 50 seconds into the fight. As soon as the punch hits him, it's the same thing. It's like he just doesn't react particularly well to getting hit. Now, he can come back if you don't knock him out all the way, but it's like he gets stung in there. So with Williams out of Iowa is a better wrestler. He's got the wrestling acumen. At 36 years old, he took the fight against Claudio, obviously on very short notice, comes in, bombs the weight cut, looks absolutely abysmal, fights absolutely abysmal, but he is better than that. His punching, it's not nearly as technical, but he's like a former Iowa Golden Gloves guy, and honestly, if he just lands one of them, it's going to do some damage. He packs enough power that if this is just like a tit-for-tat fight, then I think one of his punches is eventually going to fold over Witt. If this ends up going 3 rounds and it becomes a greasy slobber knocker, maybe he clips him. As far as just him being able to dictate it with being able to push him up against the cage, grind on him. And the last thing is that you see this guy miss weight bad his last time out, right? He's 6 feet tall, 73-inch reach, big for the weight class. Witt's given up 2 inches in the height department, 3 inches in the reach department, but beyond that, wait until they're both at weigh-ins and you'll see Williams is actually a much larger guy naturally. And so I think that's going to help because of the punching power, but it's also going to help because of the wrestling. Like maybe if he needs to switch it up to the wrestling, he does that. So he's been off a year since the Claudio fight. Very embarrassing. It's like, buddy, now's the time to get motivated, pick it back up, show everybody what you're capable of doing. And if that's the case, I think he'd be my third underdog of the card.
Yeah, Williams 3-inch reach advantage in this spot. You flip me. You flip me on that.
It's
one.
a pass, bro. Don't let me flip you. It's a very pass-worthy fight. I'm just saying I got the dog.
I was looking for dogs to play on DraftKings anyway. I'm not gonna bet Williams, at least not until I see a weigh-in, and maybe he shows up and it's just like, oh shit, he looks totally different than what we saw him against Claudio Silva.
Hopefully, he does look different than what he looks like against Claudio.
But yeah, I'm looking for dogs with high scoring potential that maybe could be a little bit underowned on this card, and Williams probably fits the bill as a guy
that he does,
who could be a GPP dream this week. All right, we got Dustin Jacoby taking on Justin Ledet, minus 330 Jacoby, plus 270 Ledet. What do you think here?
Okay, so again, I really am tempted to add Dustin Jacoby as like key parlay piece type material. With Justin Ledet, we've talked about this card. This is a card that features Sean Strickland, just so lackadaisical. It features Bobby Greene, the king of lackadaisical. It features Kevin Holland, the only guy that gives Bobby Greene a run for the title of most lackadaisical. And you got Justin Ledet. It's just like the same shit, man. He's got no killer instinct. He doesn't go in there and try to actively get that finish. He just allows his opponent to take the fight to him. If you want to strike with this guy, listen, he's pro boxer, right? And he's got a really nice jab, clean technical boxing, but he lacks any type of power. When he was fighting at heavyweight, we gave him an excuse. Yeah, just undersized, not really a heavyweight. Fighting at 205, again, it's like you're not knocking guys out with the jab. The boxing, there's just not enough to it. He has got a win over by Oma Plata on the regional scene. It would be an idea like, oh, he can grapple a little bit. He'd come up to the UFC weigh-ins with a I'd rather be boxing shirt on, or like just discredit jiu-jitsu. Like, I never trained jiu-jitsu. But he's got a little something in his back pocket. And then when he needs it in the UFC, it's like, no. He doesn't really have it in his back pocket. Now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Alexander Rakic, Johnny Walker, Alexa Kamer to a much lesser extent. It's like they haven't really given him the easiest fights.
No.
It's that he doesn't really go out there and give you any reason for why he should stick around. For rounds, he's there to give you rounds. Young guys can benefit from getting 2-3 rounds of work and seeing a guy that's maybe a bit of a tricky stylist. That's what Ledet is. With Dustin Jacoby, that's my only one worry, is that his cardio doesn't seem to be great for a guy that's out of Denver as well, for a guy that, on Contender Series, for example.
Contender Series fight, he fights really, really fast looking for that finish, and the dude that he fought just took a savage beating early. I think he dumped his tank, basically, early on there, and then the rest of the fight was kind of lackadaisical, kind of not to the level. But early on, like, he was shooking off takedowns, he was landing, he obviously, with his kickboxing experience, like the guy The guy has been in there with some bad men in the past.
Kickboxers, and that's why he should be Justin Ledet. Is that Justin Ledet doesn't seem to flip the script. He's not going to go out there and try to take him down. He's not going to try to expose him. And beyond that, you mentioned it earlier.
Even if he does try to take him down,
I don't think
Justin
tired.
Ledet's wrestling is on a level that should be too problematic for Jacoby.
And
like
course,
certain good wrestlers in the division would be able to eat his lunch, but
and it goes back
Ledet's
to
not that guy.
It goes back to Dustin Jacoby being a kickboxer, spending so much time kickboxing that you know how not to tire this guy out? Kickboxing. You need to wrestle him. You need to grind him because that's stuff that he hasn't been doing. Now with Jacoby, when he was fighting MMA, he was getting finished in the second round once he started to get tired. As far as his kickboxing career goes, yeah, he was mostly a hot starter as well. He does have one win by decision over Cody East. Cody East is a heavyweight. The fight's at heavyweight. So him coming down to 205, you got to wonder, like, does it take something out of him? Is his cardio not great? But as a striking advantage goes his way, Justin Ledet not going to try to take him down. I honestly think that worst case scenario for us, Justin Jacoby should at least be able to secure the first 2 rounds. In the third round, if he does get tired and Ledet decides to put it on him, not really a finisher, doesn't really have the punching power. And what's he going to do? Put it on him with the jab? Okay, I just don't know that I can rely on him for third round finish. So I got Jacoby. I'm a little hesitant to like make him a key piece though. But as you've noticed from all these 3-1 favorites on the card, like they all look good. The thing is, Jacoby's got a few question marks because of the cardio. Strickland's got some question marks because of the 2-year-long layoff and blew out his knee completely. Yanez has got some question marks because it's his UFC debut and he's still very young. You know, Greene, he just fucks around too much. Greg Hardy is Greg Hardy. I feel way safer about that one, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's like, okay, is he going to be a potential apple pie shooter? Potentially. But like Justin Ledet, like it would really be a real sting if Ledet's the guy to do it because I just don't have any faith in him whatsoever.
Courtney Casey takes on Priscilla Cachoeira, coming off of a win in her last fight. Used to be catch a beating, but respect where respect is due. Minus 240 Casey, plus 200 Cachoeira. This is one fight that I did not tape because I just couldn't bring myself to do it. There's no way on earth, you know me. There's no way on earth I could ever bet Priscilla Cachoeira. We did say in her last fight, I'm like, if she's ever going to win a fight in the UFC, this is it. I didn't expect her to get like a first round finish and go completely bombs away on her, but props to her. That gets her back in business. Courtney Casey, cast iron Courtney Casey. Minus 240, 9-8 fighter, but she's fought all of the best girls in the division. I imagine she should probably win by decision in this spot. Just more technically sound, higher volume, cleaner technique, but it's tough to click that button at minus 240, in my opinion. What's your take here?
Yeah. I just think it's very hard to pull the button at that price tag for sure because you've got, first of all, women's MMA, and it could be a relatively close fight. But with Courtney Casey at 9-8, it's like, yeah, she's defeated some very top fighters in the division. She's lost to top fighters in the division. A lot of times it's been close, but that's it. She doesn't really like pull away in any of these fights. Now, she's BJJ brown belt, I believe, but her wrestling doesn't really seem to be existent. So what I'd like for her to do is go and take down Priscilla Cachoeira, but I just don't have any faith that she'll actually do it. Instead, she likes this DS-style striking. Stand in front of you, get amped up, waved you on, club you a few times. Like, yeah, she's a clubbing fighter as well. Like, I don't know that that's playing to your advantage. Her ground game being her best asset is off the table without her wrestling. Then we just got 2 strikers that are striking it out. And whereas, yeah, I totally agree. The experience advantage is going towards Courtney Casey. Courtney Casey's fought a lot of strawweights. She's fought a lot of smaller women. Coming up to 125, I don't know that that's her weight class. She's got a win over Mara Barella. So does everybody. By the way, she was taken down and threw up the armbar. And then against Jillian Robertson, it's just like the physicality's there. You know, she's getting taken down. She's getting dominated at one point by Robertson and eventually gets submitted by Jillian Robertson. Okay, no shame. Jillian Robertson's a top contender. And again, it's at 125 pounds. But that size is going to be a problem. So now when I think of Cachoeira, it's like, listen, she's not all that skilled at all. But if anything, she is a natural 125, or she does have some decent size to her. She has fought in, the Valentina Shevchenkos of the world. So a fight with Courtney Casey is no big deal. Did we see a better version of versus Shane Dobson? I don't know, because it was 40 seconds long. Like, maybe. Or maybe she just happened to land something. Courtney Casey, they call her cast iron. She is cast iron. She's extremely durable. Save for getting submitted by Jillian Robertson with 20 seconds left or something. Like, yeah, she's very durable. Cachoeira seems like she needs to take you out early. But at the same time, if we're getting 2 strikers, striker versus striker, and they're not particularly great strikers, one has a small size advantage, really. I don't like the price. 240 Courtney Casey. She should walk right through Cachoeira. It's the fight is in her hands to do it. I just don't trust that she's going to fight to the best of her abilities. For that reason, I'm hitting a pass. PRP at the end of the show, yeah. No PRP is going to have Cachoeira on. However, I am smart enough to realize that Courtney Casey's way at the bottom of my list of people I want to back heavy on this card. And I would not feel bad just telling the viewers hit a pass on this one.
We got Miles John, and finally we have Miles Johns taking on Kevin Natividad. Miles Johns minus 160 favorite, Natividad plus 140. I mean, watching these guys, both guys coming from Legacy Fighting Alliance, I think it's a super, super competitive fight. I saw some people lining up taking the plus 140 on Natividad earlier on in the week, and I think that generally makes sense. I think this just has like greasy decision written all over it. Obviously, Miles Johns got finished his last fight against Mario Bautista, just ate a flying knee and kind of curled up. He was complaining to the ref after, but you know how the refs are. It's just like they're not going to let you just kind of curl up and take it in that spot. Natividad, he had a second round knockout of Estrada, who seems to fight everybody at LFA. I think these guys are just like very, very evenly matched. It's a fight that probably could have happened in the previous promotion before. Went back, watched Natividad versus Irwin Rivera. I was thinking of betting Natividad, and then I see Irwin Rivera, and he buckles him a little bit. I forget which round it was. Round one. He gets a little bit stunned by Irwin Rivera. And Rivera is not some sort of power puncher, nor is Miles Johns, but it was enough for me to be like hesitant that I think it's a super close fight. I think we probably go to the scorecards here. And it's not one that I'm lining up to put any sort of money on. Miles Johns, on the other hand, against Cole Smith, like he just accepted being controlled against the cage against Cole Smith far too much for somebody like me to be throwing some money down on him. Natividad seems to like to get it to the ground in a lot of his fights, and I would be worried as a Miles Johns bettor to just watch him kind of just accept that position. Basically it all comes down to, I think it is a true dog or pass type of situation, but not one that's going to be getting my money.
Yeah, so obviously I'd like to cap this one more than I have, just because, last fight on the card, some other things have come in the way. But I have Miles Johns on a personal level. I think that the wrestling advantage will be the key for him to getting it. He was an undefeated prospect, right? And people have some high hopes for him, but, the guy can wrestle. He's a decent grappler. His cardio looked pretty okay. His striking's all right. Again, you look at his entire regional scene career before signing with the UFC, and there's some notable names. Most notably, obviously, he beat my boy Levi Moles. He beat Caio Machado. He beat Adrian Yanez, who's on this card. He comes to the Contender Series. He beat Richie Santiago in a fight where he put on a show. Richie Santiago, my God, is that man durable. And then comes to the UFC, he's got Cole Smith. Now, Cole Smith's big for the weight class. And if anything, Cole Smith's just one of those guys that his best position is up against the cage, holding you, not taking you down, not striking with you in the open field, but he's a big, strong, physical guy. Miles Johns did look like he was giving up some size in that fight, and as a result, I agree, was controlled a little bit too much against the cage. Wins a split. It's a close fight. I thought he won the first 2 rounds, lost the third. But again, I think that's a good UFC debut for a young fighter. The fight with Mario Bautista, that's my guy. So I'm against Miles John here. And yeah, it's a competitive first round. I thought he lost, but it's a competitive first round, and then he absolutely gets demolished with that knee. That knee, in many ways, though, is his first career loss. Now he's lost for the first time. He's taken 10 months off or 8 months off.
Did you know he's a Labradoodle breeder?
A Labradoodle breeder.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. You keep talking.
Yeah, well, what I'm getting at is that, now you've suffered your first loss. You're going back to the drawing board. He's at Fortis MMA. He's got teammates on the card. I mean, here's somebody that was making improvements, but he's still so young. He just doesn't really know how to tie his game together. Here's somebody that can wrestle, and he can strike, and he's got good jiu-jitsu. Unfortunately, he doesn't really know how to tie it all in together. He doesn't know how to strike to his wrestling. He doesn't know, when to maybe switch it up and try to steal around. Maybe when to go to a plan B. But again, you got to lose to experience the loss for the first time, go back, see what you're made out of, and get better. Labradoodles are cute dogs, aren't they?
Here's his Twitter account. It's Doodles in the Rough.
Doodles in the Rough. But we got any pictures?
Lovely picture of him and his family, and then a whole bunch of, they're breeders. They breed Labradoodles.
Well, I'd say that's pretty tough. But, yep, well, what I mean.
I had a little fun going through that as well.
That's hilarious.
That's the toughest Labradoodle breeder in the world. That's bar none.
Yeah. Well, also, let us introduce ourselves. Miles is a nurse and UFC fighter. Say what? He's a nurse and he breeds Labradoodles? Bet against him. However, I don't mind what I see. And listen, Kevin Natividad is no joke whatsoever as well. But I feel like he's still growing in some spots as well. One key fight that, again, I do want to go back and watch is Kevin Natividad, wins his last fight against Kyle Estrada, who's fought a lot of top veterans. And then prior to that, he goes to split decision with Andy Perez, who's 7-7. That's just 2 fights ago, and it was actually 2019, so it's last year.
I couldn't find that one. Or I couldn't find that one. Myself.
Yeah, because I don't think it's listed on Fight Pass because it's before
you
they
may
took
have
their
it at
events.
Fight Network, like
Exactly.
in the vault.
But I got to dig it up because that one's going to be telling. I think he's going to struggle a little bit with the wrestling, and I think that Miles John would be best served to strike a little bit and then try to get.
By the time we got
down.
to round 3 against Erwin Rivera, like he gets Rivera ends up reversing Kevin Natividad. Like that was a greasy, close split. Like I just think this has all of the writing on the wall of just being an incredibly close competitive fight.
So the fight with Erwin Rivera is very close. You're absolutely right. It's
And
a majority.
Natividad
It's
was
a majority
supposed to
decision.
fight Kelleher, but tested positive for COVID-19. So how much time has he been putting? And that was for the card on September 9th. Somewhere early September, he was supposed to fight, but he got diagnosed COVID-19. So how much time has this guy been putting in the gym since then?
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the last thing I want to say with Natividad is Natividad. With Miles Johns, he coming off that first pro loss, it's a flying knee against Mario Batista. Badass. Fighting in the UFC is legitimately good. Mm-hmm. When you look at Kevin Natividad's loss, it's a 9-second KO against Glenn Baker. An LFA.
I watched that, yeah.
Yeah, and Glenn Baker's now 4-3 and retired. You know, doesn't really 9 seconds first shot hits you. Miles John's not a power puncher, but he's got good striking. I think he's just got maybe more advantages ever so slightly. So for now, my pick is Miles John. I think he gets it done. I probably think I'm leaning towards decision. But definitely one that I'll be looking at again. So, you know, when I tweet stuff out, or maybe if you tune into the odds.com show on Friday, like maybe things could change by then. But tentatively for now, I got John's minus 160.
Well, let's break it down from a DraftKings perspective ever so quickly. Make sure to tune into Mayo Media Network on Fridays. Our boy Matt here edits and pulls up Brett's video, and Brett will kind of give you 2 plays that he likes from the higher range, and then like one of the cheaper plays as well.
Okay, so normally I would love a guy like Alex Hernandez because he's got the goods that he could get the finish over Gruetzemacher. He could knock him out. He could take him down. We got points off takedowns. We got a potential submission on the table with Gruetzemacher having been submitted a bunch of times in his career. Like, why not like Hernandez? The one thing there is Hernandez gets knocked out by Cerrone. Then you see against Trinaldo, the aggression is just like out of him. Then the Dober fight, he tries to get aggressive again. Doesn't play out for him. So mentally, he might not want to charge in there against Gruetzemacher. Might take his time. If that's the case, 9,300, just too much. I need an aggressive guy. 9,200, Adrian Yanez. I like that a lot better. Victor Rodriguez, there to be hit.
Here's the thing about Yanez. Let me just... I slotted Yanez into there because DraftKings doesn't actually have pricing for him. But, I mean, there's a slot between 93 and 91. And
Seems
he's a slightly a smaller favorite. Like, I know he's either going to be 94 or 92. There's no other price that Yanez will be on this card. So I just took it upon myself, you know, yesterday to be like, he's going to be 92. He could be 94. But either way.
We'll wait for the price to come up. But honestly, you got a price pretty fair. And again, I think that he's got first round finish capabilities. He's got second round finish capabilities. He should just have the advantage in a lot of spots. No disrespect to Rodriguez. Just very tough spot for him on his UFC debut on short notice. Sean Strickland, I'd love to make the play on Sean Strickland. But yeah, he's very lackadaisical. He's a very slow paced guy, and he doesn't mind going to decision. Jack Marshman's there to be finished. But if anything, you know, he's a tough guy. He knows his UFC contract's probably on the line. I think I'm going to hit a pass on the 9,100 Sean Strickland. 9,000 Bobby Greene, again. Just there's no takedowns out of him.
The volume has been a lot better since COVID started.
It has.
I mean,
but
he took on Lando Venata. Every single time you take on Lando Venata, it's going to be a firefight. But
so let's say you land.
Nuggetti landed.
Let's say you land 80 significant strikes.
61 significant strikes, but a lot of that took place on the ground, and we know that they don't score fights on the ground. Just ask who was it the other week? 73 points.
Yeah, Jung.
Yeah, Jung. He had
Park. Yeah,
Park.
Jung barely squeaked by for a draw. Oof.
So yeah, the ground strikes don't typically get scored. But yeah, Bobby Green's numbers or his volume has been up in his last 2
See, my issue is if he lands 80 significant strikes, you're getting 40 points right there.
And he probably doesn't want to take it to the mat.
No knockdowns, no takedowns. It's like, well, there's no ground transitions. Like, where is he getting the rest of the points to make up the 9,000? Jacoby, 8,900. That seems pretty good as well. Ledet's durable enough that he could give us some fits. And if this does become a Jacoby slows down and gets tired and has to hold on, like it wouldn't be great for 8,900, but I do see the upside. Greg Hardy, you want to think he's got the upside because he's a heavyweight and he's got knockouts in his career, but he's
his
a slower
style doesn't lend to it.
I
But
agree.
Maurice
I agree.
Greene can just kind of fold.
If he comes in poor shape,
Like
he's
against
got a round and a half.
Pavlovich, like
And
he
did the
just
same
he
thing
took
against
a he took a
Holland.
shot
He did the
against
same thing
Pavlovich and
Holland.
he just folded to his back and just accepted. Like he was trying to get. It's like, hey, come on down to the ground because I know I can't hang on the feet.
Now, everybody not named Shayna Dobson has scored pretty good against Priscilla Cachoeira. So I guess in that regard, Courtney Casey's definitely worth a look. But as we talked about on the show, I'm not super fond of her. I'm looking as that more of a pass. Uriah Hall should be able to take out Anderson Silva. He should be able to just follow Jared Cannier's leg kick in the first round and have him crumpled over on his leg by the second round. We just don't know if he's actually going to follow through.
He may not
with
follow
that.
through with that type of game
And
plan.
that's where it's risky. Bryce Mitchell and Andre Fili both figure to score pretty good. If Bryce Mitchell gets this fight to the ground, he's going to score very well. Fili's just trying to keep it standing the whole time and jabbing from the outside. He's not going to score a ton, but he's only $7,700. So as far as cash
As long
game
as
plays
just
go,
getting a win and getting up towards
Would
70,
be all
80
you
points
need.
would be all you need from him at that point. I'll be playing him.
Miles John, Kevin Natividad, you're going to want one side of it, whether it's Johns or Natividad, just because these are the type of bantamweights, so there's going to be a lot of scrambles. There's going to be explosions. Both guys are capable of striking. Both guys, their only losses are both by knockout, right? So you could see Johns picking up a finish over Natividad, but you could also see him using his wrestling to secure the fight on the ground, get some ground transitions, take his back, strike with him a little bit standing. That's going to score points. Natividad, if he springs the upset, he could potentially maybe chin check Johns. We've seen the kid's got a lot of power in his hands. If he hurts him, then yeah, 7,800, he's going to be an optimal. Jason Witt versus Cole Williams, you want no part of that fight, but again, you might need part of that fight because Cole Williams got very high upside, and even though he is awful, he just showed he was awful in that one UFC fight. Beyond that, not the worst guy going. And
I mean, he was
just
taking on
gotta
really, really
catch-
low level competition in those other
I know,
fights.
he's
But
just got to catch Jason Witt.
I mean, DraftKings lineups, you generally you have to be a little bit uncomfortable. Like you're not when you love your lineup, so do 300 other people. It's just like Cole Williams has first round finish ability against an opponent that can't necessarily take damage. If he lands that and clips him, you're gonna need him at 7,900.
Yeah.
The question is, does Witt on the other side, if Cole Williams doesn't finish, does he land enough volume to pay off an 83 price tag?
Yeah, I mean, Witt's got some power in his hands too, but Williams hasn't really shown to be chinny to the same extent. So yeah, if we got two guys in a gunfight, I'm going to take the one with a little more ammo behind him. Kevin Holland versus Muradov is like Holland. Sometimes he scores well, sometimes he doesn't score well because when you're staying at range, you're not throwing a ton of significant damage. Yeah, I just don't know how the fight match is going to score him up.
But
with,
at 82,
Muradov,
he doesn't have to do anything crazy. Like against like Buckley, he was up in the $9,000 range. So,
but Buckley just came and brought the fight to him. It caused Kevin Holland to fight back. With Muradov, I agree with you. He needs to just kill that open space. He needs to just go in there, close it as soon as he can,
try to exhaust him
and get him up against the cage. But Holland's, I don't want to say his takedown defense is bad. He's hard to take down because he's so tall and lanky and just generally awkward in general. But I don't know. Muradov would have a good game plan and just hold him up against the cage. Don't need to take him down. Just
Exhaust him.
control him up against the cage.
wear him down, and then maybe we find a finish late, or you just bank rounds early.
Bank rounds early, get 2 of the 3 rounds, secure
And then by the
yourself a
time you get to
decision.
round 3, if you have a tired Kevin Holland,
Now, would that-
he's not going to have the same stinging.
Yeah, right.
And you know, Muradov hasn't been finished.
Now, would that
he's
score
never been
a
knocked
lot?
out.
Would that
and
score a
he's
lot?
won his last
Maybe
13
not.
fights.
Maybe it wouldn't score a lot, but because he's cheap enough and he's in that sub 8,000 range, it's like, okay, it makes sense to put a few of them on together. So just to sum it up, because it seems like we pass on almost everything, the guys, I would say Hall's reasonable, 8,600. Fili's your good play at 7,700, even though he might not get a finish by no stretch. Muradov 8,000 makes sense. Hardy 8,800, it makes sense because Greene. No Bobby Greene, no Thiago Moises. Hernandez got me worried. Just don't know what version's going to come out. Yanez, really like Yanez. Passion on Strickland, Marshman. Williams, Witt, whatever side you want on that side's probably going to be good. I don't mind Justin Jacoby, even though he's 8,900. It seems crazy, but you need some of these. We're passing on a lot of the higher price guys. We're going to need a few of them. Courtney Casey, Cachoeira. Not playing Courtney Casey might come back to bite me in the ass. You know, she might be one of these players at 8,700 that scores over 100 points, gets a finish, and she's on the optimal, and I took no shares of her. That would make me worried. But there's just like a gut feeling about that fight. And then Miles John, Natividad, again, I think you're going to want one side of that on your option. So as far as like the money line goes, I like a lot of these spots. I think that it's going to be a parlay card, and just hopefully the 3-1 that I like is not on the optimal. But as far as DraftKings goes, I'll be the first one to tell you, very difficult week. Very difficult week because, like, who do you trust? Who do you trust on the high end? And then as far as trusting some of these lower end guys, which dogs do you like? We've outlined 3 underdogs that we like in Fili,
Muradov.
Williams and Muradov. Those are 3 dogs. But as far as like their DraftKings price goes, like nobody's $6,800, no one's $7,300. Like they're all reasonably priced, right? So tough week for that. But yeah, I think there's going to be probably a chalky type card.
All right, we're just about out of here, but before we go, hit him with the PRP.
Yeah, so this is the PRP brought to you by Cody Saftic, and we're going to go with Uriah Hall, Andre Fili, dog number 1, Muradov, dog number 2, Craig Hardy, Bobby Greene, Alex Hernandez, Adrian Yanez, Sean Strickland, Cole Williams, dog number 3. Fuck, that will probably come back. But Cole Williams, dog number 3, Justin Ledet. No, definitely not Ledet. Sorry, I meant Dustin Jacoby, Courtney Casey, Miles John. So may the fortunes be with us. I mean, we had a good week last week, all things considered. Lost my mustache, but the bank account didn't mind. And yeah, hopefully we can keep that momentum going through to this one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, that's it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. So for Cody Saftic and producer Matt, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.
MMA experience. Experience.